Welcome to this Konštrukta T-34 100 review, and it will be a slightly different video than normal. I will go a bit more into details of this tank and giving you a rundown of it since I finished grinding it. So my final statistics with this tank were 93 battles, an average of 2,500 WN8, a 66% win ratio, and 1300 average damage per battle. While these statistics are pretty good, is this tank any good? No, not really. And there's a couple of reasons why this tank is not particularly good. One of the main reasons I feel is that it's not really good at anything. The gun depression of this tank is about 5 degrees. Well, it is 5 degrees, so it is actually quite crap. That's Chinese gun depression right there. But while the Chinese Tier 7 is actually a really flat pancake tank with really good turret armor, this tank is pretty huge. If you look at it next to the TDs and, for instance, there, that KV-85 IS type thing, it's as tall as a heavy. So yeah, and as well, the armor on this thing, this is a tier 5 hull, remember, so this wonderful tier 5 hull gets 45mm all around, and this is a tier 7 tank, so anything will penetrate. I mean, I could go into the armor statistics and show you fancy tanks GG armor thing, but all you need to know that the effective armor of this tank might as well be 0, apart from HE damage, but it might as well be 0 because anything that shoots at you will penetrate. It will stop nothing. And while this turret front here, you can see this massive bulb on the front, it looks like there's a lot of metal in there, but there really isn't. It might as well be made from tin foil because, again, anything will just go right through. So let's talk about the gun. The gun is a 100mm gun, 175 penetration, which is good for a tier 7. I'm not complaining about that. And the gun handling stats are definitely better than the Chinese medium, but the listed aim time of 2.3 seconds feels more like 2.5 at least, probably due to the dispersion of this thing for some reason. You spend an awful lot of time aiming, and then even if you fully aimed, your shot just falls into the ground, because while this gun has really nice shell velocity of nearly 1,000, which is faster than all the other tier 7 mediums it seems, these shells fly for well, until the middle there of the square, and then they just fall into the ground. It's a horrible gun to snipe with. The shells just frequently fall into the ground, you won't hit your targets, and then it also seems to lose a lot of penetration over distance. So I'm just going to continue running the replay in the background while I continue talking. So mobility of this tank is distinctly average. I mean, an IS-3 has pretty much the same mobility as this medium tank. And while the IS-3 obviously is a Russian heavy tank, which is more a medium, at least in the mobility-wise department, than the armor one, yeah, it's not working. I mean, you can see that live over there in the Comet, and he's casually coming up because this thing only has 520 engine horsepower. So yeah, it struggles to do stuff. It struggles to get uphill. It struggles to move fast. I mean, the listed top speed is 54 kilometers an hour actually, but the chances of you reaching that while not going downhill are pretty low. Gun depression of 5 degrees also gets you into a lot of trouble in various engagements because you just can't get your gun down on the target. And the Chinese medium has also got 5 degrees of gun depression, but it's really flat and it's got really good turret armor. That thing can actually bounce tier 9 guns, so there's a lot more chance of you getting into a position where you will not receive damage while you're trying to actually do damage with your gun, even in tier 9 matches. So it's just bad. Well, it's not as bad as some tanks in this game, but you can clearly see this medium tank was designed as normally always happens with wargaming and bringing out new trees. This tank was designed for people to use XP on, to convert gold, to skip it with free XP, because it's not good at anything. It hasn't got any strong points. It's just a distinctly average tank, and that is just bad game balance. I mean, a tank has to be good at something at least, or be a very good all-rounder. And while tanks like, for instance, the Pershing are really good all-rounders, this tank is just an all-rounder. It's not really good at anything. It's not really horrible at anything else either. But it just doesn't do the job really. I mean, and one of the main reasons as well why my stats in this tank, especially the win ratio, are so high, is that I was lucky enough that people were willing to platoon with me in this piece of crap to actually grind through it. Because, I mean, I don't really think you should have really strong opinions about tanks if you don't actually play them. And that's why I played this tank for 93 battles as well, to see if it would get any better. But it doesn't. I really pity the people that have to play randoms in this tank, because as well, and back up the WZ, bounce with 175 penetration because reasons, and then we get this guy. But I really pity the people that have to play randoms in this tank solo, because unless you have reliable teammates that can actually help you out, you will suffer a lot in this tank, and you will get really upset quite often, because it is just impossible to do anything in this tank if your team is crap. If you have a bad team, you will lose, even if you play your best game ever, because you don't have the armor to bounce any shot. So if you want to trade with enemies or well, you don't even have proper, like, exceptional view range. I've got coated optics mounted on this thing, and it's not really something to write home about. It's not really fancy. So if you're left into a position where you need to, let's say, play against 5 enemy tanks, unless they come at you one by one and there is some way for you to abuse terrain, you will lose, because you don't have the DPM to actually keep them at bay. While your reload isn't bad, it's just not good enough. It just doesn't work. And when they fire any shot at you from any direction, they will always penetrate, while your gun is temperamental at best in a lot of engagements. So that doesn't work. Your view range is not acceptable or exceptional. Your tank is huge, like literally huge. So all in all, this makes a really bad all-round package as a tank. I mean, the Comet is miles better. The T-34-1 is definitely better as a tier 7 medium. The other ones I haven't played so long that I can't really compare them. But this tank, all I can say is, should it have been released in its current state into the game for the player? I can say no. It's not. It's just not a good tank. It needs something else. And this, I was quite surprised, because this guy has an autoloader. 3 shots. I move out. I shoot him, and he kills me. So I really don't know what the reload on the autoloader is. That life said it was 7 seconds, but that surely didn't feel like 7 seconds. So quite amazed by that. But yeah, this tank in randoms, if you are not platooning, just don't. It's just bad. You will just get really upset, and yeah, don't do it. So I've unlocked the tier 8. I've played a couple of matches in it, and I can tell you at least that with the 88 gun, even on the stock turret, the gun handling is so much more or so much better, and you will actually be more useful than this thing. As well, lately I've had a lot of tier 9 matches in this thing, and it's just not fun. So yeah, should it have been in the game in this state for the player? Nope. Should it have been put into game in this state for wargaming? Hell yeah, because loads and loads and loads of people will use gold to actually free XP modules or the complete thing. So yeah, my recommendation would be to wait. And if you're not a good player, wait until wargaming in the next 1 or 2 patches actually fixes this tank and makes it usable in the matches it gets put in. You can ignore that advice and try platooning. You might enjoy it a little bit, but really just don't. Wait till wargaming actually fixes this tank and makes it useful. I'll be grinding the tier 8 tank. I'll see how it goes. I'll see if I need platoons for it. It feels a lot better already than this thing, so yeah, we'll see. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, feel free to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and see you guys next time.